This is First Verbifus, a rare chameleon from Madagascar and very cool. A number of members of the Chameleon Academy community have decided they wanted to start a grassroots breeding effort. And so today I'm going to be talking about the bifidus breeding project. Whether you're interested in this particular species of chameleon or not, you're welcome to observe and follow along. Now, this is the video rendition of the Chameleon Academy podcast. And what that means is that this is an audio show, so you can sit back, relax, and just listen. Though if you do want to look at the screen, you'll be watching the chameleon cam that is trained on a male Furcifer bifidus. My name is Bill Strand. Welcome to the Chameleon Academy podcast. Let's get to the show. I would like to say right off the bat that this is not my fault. I was cruising along, intending to make the shamrock chameleon my main focus, my only focus, but things spun out of control, and here I am most gloriously immersed in a project to breed Furcifer bifidus, a rare species of chameleon from Madagascar. So how did I come to this fate? What does it mean, and where might this lead? Very good questions, my chameleon wrangler, and ones we shall explore forthwith. We chameleon people are cursed with too much good stuff. At the moment, over 20 species of chameleons can be exported from Madagascar, and each one is a world of fascination. The most attention goes to the ones that are colorful or large. I'm sure everyone has heard of the panther chameleon, the most colorful chameleon, and the Parsons chameleon, the largest chameleon. But every other species is amazing. Thus, it's very easy to have this candy store mindset where we want one of everything. And that's what it's been like in the chameleon world for the last many decades. Back when Madagascar was closed down, we had Tanzania open, which was the same situation of too much good stuff. From the huge Meller's chameleons to the three-horned Daramensis, the personable Multituberculata, and the live-bearing Sternfeldi. There was more than enough to keep us occupied. But how many of you listening right now have heard of those species before? Tanzania implemented a blanket ban on exports in 2016, almost 10 years ago. So only the, quotes, old-timers knew a time when we had access to chameleons from Tanzania. To put this in perspective, if you listen to the first episode of the Chameleon Breeder podcast, then you remember a time when we could get chameleons from Tanzania. If you learned about chameleons on TikTok, you don't. So why do I bring up this little story about Tanzania? Because it's a cautionary warning for what could happen with Madagascar if we are not careful. The reason why our TikTok generation knows nothing about the Tanzania species is not because they banned exports, it's because we didn't take them seriously when they were with us. Those species are essentially unknown in the general community because they no longer are with us in captivity. At least beyond some very isolated populations that are facing varying levels of being inbred. You see, most of the Tanzanian species were easy to breed. Trioceras daramensis, Kinyongia multituberculata, Trioceras sternfeldi, they were available as captive hatched, even multiple unrelated captive hatched bloodlines. And now they are gone. What happened? Well, we had too much good stuff. Concentrating on one species for years and years is a lot of work, not only in the breeding aspect, but in the selling aspect. Why breed when there are not enough customers to take the babies? Makes sense. But if there was a cool three-horned species like Daramensis available, wouldn't we all clamor for it? Well, if the wild caught were $200 and the captive hatched were $400, which would you buy? If you are a long-time listener to this podcast, you'd be fighting to be first in line for the captive hatched at twice the price. But when you have 60 babies from two unrelated bloodlines of an obscure species, you can see how you may sell 10 pairs to the sophisticated Chameleon Academy community. But now you have 40 more individuals that you have to place before you can think of breeding again. And you see why I make a big deal about having your sales plan in place before you breed? And you only breed what you can easily sell. So that's why I say avoid breeding veiled chameleons. I love them, but selling them to make any sort of profit is a pain. I also say to avoid crossing panther locales. Ethical and moral discussions aside, selling them, especially the females, is a huge problem. Breeding chameleons is fun if you do it right, but you need to be able to sell the babies, or else your breeding project is one and done. There is a whole lot more we can go into about the complications in establishing a species, but the takeaway that is useful for this episode is simply that the establishment of a species in captivity is not whether we can breed it or not, but whether we can sell the offspring or not. And just put that little fact in your back pocket, and we'll pull that out later in the episode. So fast forward to today. What is First Verbifus, and why have so few people heard of it? This is one of those incredible species from Madagascar. It's close in size to a panther chameleon, a little smaller, but husbandry-wise, almost equivalent. I'd say they're more like a Parsons chameleon, but these will more easily fit into a standard 2 by 2 by 4 foot tall cage. The most defining feature are two supersized rostral processes, two blade horns coming from the snout of the male. The color of the males as an adult is a grayish bluish with a faint orange tint around the chest. The females are a beautiful green with no rostral adornments. Looking at them, you would think that these would be in demand, but they remain very rare in captivity. And that's because they are impressive on their own, but get overlooked next to the vivid panther or breathtaking Parsons. And they're not necessarily hard to breed. I know 5 people who have bred them, and there are probably more out there. But without a compelling marketplace, the species gets left behind. They are bred once, and then breeding efforts go towards a species that is more novel or has a better market. You get your bifidus bragging rights badge and move to collect your next species badge. And I'm not saying this flippantly. This is reality, and we do ourselves no favors when we express mock disgust and then take our place in the same dynamic we just criticized. So, what exactly are we trying to do here? And, well, maybe first, why did we choose an obscure species such as the First Verbifus? Every species of chameleon has its own secrets and is incredible in its own way. So selecting a species of chameleon to work with is not really deciding which one would be fun to work with, because they all would be. It really comes down to having either a marketing reason or a personal reason. First Verbifus actually has a personal reason. Through the Chameleon Academy, we have January trips to Madagascar, which are a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and you should definitely come if you love chameleons. This last January, a community member named James Cross came with us. It was our last day, and we were on our way back to the capital to go to the airport. Suddenly, James says to stop the bus. The driver pulls over, and James jumps out. James had seen a male First Verbifus crossing the road, the only one on the entire trip. It was a beautiful male. James held it, took pictures of it, and fell in love. The male lumbered back into the foliage, but it never left James's mind. Months later, he still spoke of that experience, and I brought up an offer from Jay Dubé of One World Exotica. One World Exotica is an import company, and Jay said he'd bring in First Verbifus if I could find people to take at least 5 pairs. And so, I opened it up to the Chameleon Academy community. And if you are on the virtual campus, read the newsletters, or go on my weekly live sessions on YouTube, you saw the entire process take shape. I did find people to take 5 pairs, so they were brought in. And more people joined the project afterwards to take the extra males that came in. And so, when I tell you it wasn't my fault that I am now working with this species, I am afraid that is true only in the briefest of passes if you squint in a dark room. But it's fun to blame James for things, so I will continue. So, you might ask, what are we doing with this? Well, we are doing a community breeding project. That idea isn't necessarily new. I myself have done this a couple of times in the past, where I gathered a handful of people who are interested in a species, and we brought in a shipment, or we just coordinated our efforts. The one common thread behind all the other efforts was that it fizzled quickly. I worked hard to support the projects, but the people who got their chameleons went their separate ways, even when I created an entire website to support the species and was setting up breeder resources to sell the offspring. So, yes, I have been doing this for quite a while and have learned a great deal. The one thing that is different this time is that the other times I started with the chameleon. This time, I started with a community. The present Chameleon Academy community started solidifying about 3 years ago, and I have created a space so it could grow. I do not think it would have grown as well if I had tried to control it or make it grow. I simply worked hard to support where it wanted to grow. People wanted a chameleon community that wasn't tied to a social media group for a number of completely valid reasons, so they found my live sessions. They then wanted a place where they could meet throughout the week, and the virtual campus was born. The virtual campus is a paid private digital community for members of the Chameleon Academy. This gave us a space we could call our own without constantly being under the threat of drama or being shut down like on all social media sites. With that, I added a digital course, Hunting Microscopic Chameleon Parasites, that was the single most important secondary skill for chameleon keepers to grow to the next level. And so you can see how this approach will be different. Before, I tried to create a community over a species. This time, a species is coming in to an established community. Will this be the golden ticket? I don't know. This is the first time this has been tried like this. But I do know that I will find out the answer to this question. And I am feeling very good about our chances this time. I think this is the right way to have a community breeding effort. There are a number of community members that got pairs. Some got single males, and some are preparing for being chameleon foster parents in a year and a half when the eggs we hope to create hatch. You see, there are many things we can do with a strong community already established. Of course, you know I am education-oriented, so this is a perfect opportunity for me to gather information. Because we have an established community and a community platform, we'll be holding meetings of the Bifidus Breeding Project on the last Sunday of every month to share experiences. And I will put together a Furcifer bifidus care guide that consolidates all these experiences. These meetings will be held on the virtual campus and are available for any of the members to attend. We're not having it open to the general public because I do want to maintain a bit more order and allow for the people who want to learn about how to be part of the foster program to be able to get the attention they need. But this is meant to be a community effort, so the meetings will be available for virtual campus members to attend, and the summary of the meetings will be in the Chameleon Academy newsletter so you can get updates in your inbox. So you don't have to be there if you want to know what's going on, just wait for updates in your inbox. This will be a combination of community involvement and maintaining some sanity. The main purpose for this structure is to be able to gather information and retain it for the future keepers of First Verbifus. Most importantly, to support the people who will be purchasing the F1 generation. Remember how the death of every great breeding project is when there isn't enough homes for the offspring? Well, that is number one on my mind, and a huge unknown here. Can we all create enough of an interest in this obscure species to absorb the offspring produced? To be determined. But it's on our shoulders, meaning the people who are part of this project, to do what we can. And right now, the plan is to create awareness through constant updates via the newsletter, discussions on the live sessions, and general awareness from the individuals in the program posting on their social media accounts. And on my side, I will consolidate our experiences into a substantial care guide which can go along with any baby we produce. Making the F1 generation keeper successful is a requirement to there being an F2 generation. You see, the real challenge is not getting the chameleons, acclimating the chameleons, breeding the chameleons, hatching the chameleons, or raising up the chameleons. The challenge is in the F1 generation. Are there enough homes? Of course, the next step is maintaining the exponential growth in offspring of the people breeding the F1s, but we will have breached the barrier that has been the death of almost every non-core species breeding project in the past. So let's just focus on one victory at a time. And I would love for the F2 generation to be a problem to be solved. Now, I do want to talk about the meticulous nature of what we will be doing with these monthly breeder meetings. I'm going to ask the team basic questions about husbandry experiences. Sure, the husbandry may be very similar to other chameleons, but the value in us doing this is that we are confirming that it is. Honestly, with the basic chameleon husbandry we now know and use, and a big enough cage, you can keep almost every chameleon. And that is because the approach we use in the chameleon world is to create an environment with multiple microclimates that allows the chameleon to choose where it wants to be. So if we do our job right, the same cage setup will work for both the gregarious basking panther chameleon and the shy deep forest crested chameleon. They might be able to be in the same cage type setup, but they will inhabit different microclimates within that cage. There is immense value in checking it out, testing on the exact species. That is how we find out the subtle, but sometimes dramatic differences. And we don't always get a flashing beacon saying there's something that needs to be discovered. Sometimes it just happens and you stumble over things. And so we will explore the paths we think we know to make sure we truly know them. And we will re-explore them in the future to see if there's anything we missed on the first pass. This is the humility that creates discovery. And so, yes, we will be reviewing and discussing every aspect of husbandry that we think we know through the lens of First Verbifus to see if it still holds as well as we think it should. Now, this may sound like we're going through a lot for an obscure species, but this is more than just figuring out husbandry for bifidus. Over the last few years, I've been talking about a concept called the small batch breeding program. If that's a new term for you, then you can look through my past episodes and learn more about it. It's a term coined by T.C. Houston of Reptile Mountain to describe the concept of reducing your reptile population to the number that you can provide exceptional care for instead of reducing your care level to match your population. While no one can argue with that philosophically, we chameleon people quickly overshoot the line when babies arrive. Suddenly, our population shoots up by 30 individuals. And I hate to say it, but good enough care of babies has been a standard in our community. Giving individual care for each baby is a tall task, and only the most dedicated breeders have stepped up to the plate. Individual keeping is not a nicety, it is proper husbandry. Being able to get away with group raising is, well, just that, getting away with it. And if you are in this because you are dedicated to chameleons, then you know we have to accept the truth of what we have to do. And I get it, it isn't easy. In very real ways, I'm still working to meet my own standards. So this isn't said as a way for me or you to judge others. This is said as a way for me and you to do the best we can do for our chameleons. But back to the breeder dilemma and the exploding population. When we have a community, we have the option to have a group effort. Part of that group effort is to distribute the work. Let breeders produce the eggs, and let a layer of foster parents raise 6 of the babies each. That way, the babies get treated with the top care. And this only works within a tight-knit community that trusts each other. Is this too idealistic to work in the real world? We'll see. But this First Verbifus program is a test of the idea. So even if we aren't able to overcome the F1 sales challenge I was talking about, if we showed that we could make the foster program work, we will still have made a huge leap forward. And I think the foster programs are actually a necessary component to get over the F1 challenge. With a foster program, the cages are bigger, meaning the babies can be held longer, and so it gives us more time to find enough of the new homes for this lesser-known species. So there are a lot of pieces at play here. Now, as you can tell by what I have talked about in this episode, this is about much more than just making more of a chameleon. First Verbifus is not endangered in the wild, and actually I wanted to try this out with the shamrock chameleon, Caluma o'Shaughnessyi, but breeding success of that species has been more difficult than I had anticipated. Although I may have had successful breeding yesterday, but we shall see. Anyway, the real importance of this project is not the chameleon. It is the community. It is us working together, not as a bunch of loosely aligned individuals bouncing in the general same direction to be picked off by the next distraction, but as a bonded community moving forward in a coordinated manner. Anyone saying that this is idealistic and fraught with complications due to basic human nature would be absolutely correct. But Collectives have worked before, and I propose we try it, just to prove it can work. And then we can decide what to do with our findings after that. I know that once people get the basics of husbandry under their belt and start to feel comfortable, they start to think. They start to be ready for the next step. What more can I do within the chameleon community? And this is a spark of what we will accomplish in the next decade. If you want to be more involved, you don't have to jump and be part of this bifidus breeding program. In fact, as much as I would love for this program to grow and for more people to be involved, and I will tell you how you can do that, I want to first fan that small flame that has started inside of you. If this species enthralls you, then we'll get to that. But if you're thinking you want to do more, but are unsure if this is for you, well, perfect. I want you to hold on to that spark. The more you observe what's going on in the community, the more you will start to see where your unique combination of skills and interests can be applied. I say that your spark is what will take flame in the next decade because that's how it works. This flame that I have with the small batch breeding that is showing up under the wrapper of the bifidus breeding project has been a spark I've been cultivating for decades. It may guide me for decades more. But if there's a spark in you, keep it warm. You may be new and not really know what to do with that spark, and that's okay. Observe. You don't have to just jump into creating a new TikTok account and jumping into the social media entertainment fray. Just watch. And sooner or later, the combination of confidence that you build with time in the community and a window of opportunity will come along and you'll be off to the races. Does that mean you'll have a channel? Does that mean you'll go to vet school? Does that mean you'll become a professor of chameleons? And yes, you can do this. Does this mean you'll start a breeding business? Does this mean you'll start an educational outreach? And there are a myriad of other things I can think about and a myriad of other things I haven't conceived of. I mean, when I started this podcast, no one had really conceived of a podcast about chameleons. And I admit the idea had its challenges. But I had a vision, and I had a unique combination of skills, talents, and, well, blind spots to the reason not to, that I was able to create something that didn't exist before. So what's your vision? And once again, don't answer that question now. Observe, be mindful, and the answer to that question will slap you in the head sometime when you aren't expecting it. Now, if this bifidus program truly speaks to you, you can purchase some individuals when they are available and just follow along. I'll be posting updates and insights in the free newsletter, so you can be a silent partner in all of this. But if you'd like the idea of being part of what we are doing, there are a few places you can join. First, you can get wild-caught adults and either breed if you get a pair, or observe and report if you get a single. We have some of our team that got individual males, and they will help us with the husbandry reporting. Now, wild-caught chameleons require extra care because of parasites and acclimation. The members in the group now are all part of the Hunting Microscopic Chameleon Parasites digital course that's available on the virtual campus, so they have training in dealing with parasites. Acclimating wild-caught chameleons is not necessarily fun, and so you may consider other ways of being involved, and I'll go over those soon. But if you want the challenge of working with wild-caught chameleons, we will have more bifidus coming in around the end of the year. You contact me via bill@chameleonacademy.com if you want to coordinate, or else, if you like doing things on your own, then just monitor the online sites or the activities of importers you know. Second, you can consider being a foster parent. And this means taking care of 6 to 12 babies at a top level of husbandry. We are still working out exactly how this is going to work out, so I still have a number of things to discuss with the team. But know that this requires a high level of skill, and the possibility that this will cost you money in the first few years we try this is very high. Assume you will lose money by being part of any part of this program. If you're okay with that, well, then we can talk. The end goal is for this to be a profitable thing for every person involved, but we are still into the prototype testing stage, so I can guarantee you that no one will make money for a while. If you need a financial justification, then there are much better projects and species to work with. And third, you can just be involved by talking about it on your social media platforms. Keep track of what's going on and, well, talk about it. Talk about First Verbifus. Repost posts from the breeding group members and get more enthusiasm around the species. Remember how the F1's finding new homes will be the make or break of this? We need people to spread awareness of this experiment if we're going to be selling babies in the 2026-2027 years. So this is a way for you to now be involved without taking in wild-caught chameleons or adding to the collection you have now. To be clear, the reason why it's different this time is that there is an established community. So you just being part of this Chameleon Academy community is making a difference. And as always, if you aren't sure how you fit in, but you want to figure that out, just sign up for the newsletter. You'll get updates in your inbox, and you can observe for as long as you want before figuring anything out. You can sign up for the newsletter on the ChameleonAcademy.com website. Now, if you're feeling the pull to be more involved with the projects we're doing with the Chameleon Academy, the virtual campus is where that happens. It's a dedicated space made up of 2 parts. Digital courses for those who want to dive into structured, expert-led learning, and community forums for those who want to engage in the live projects and conversations shaping the future of our community. You can choose to be part of just the course, just the forums, or both, whatever fits your goals. This is a paid community, so take a look at the landing page and see what is right for you. The one space that is common no matter what plan you choose is the lecture hall. This is where the monthly seminars are given, the Bifidus Breeding Project monthly meeting is held, and guest lecturers come to give talks. And when you join, take a look at the talks we've already had because replays are available for our lecture hall activities. More courses will be added soon, and as the value grows, so will the entry fee. But once you join, your rate is locked in. If you want to check it out, just go to ChameleonAcademy.com and click the image for the virtual campus. You'll find all the information there. I know the next question is, how much does it cost? And since this podcast is designed to stay relevant over time, please go to the campus web portal. The most up-to-date pricing is always on the homepage. And inside the campus, you'll be part of the discussions, the various projects we are part of, and the monthly seminars that are for the campus members. Now, going forward, you're going to see more and more of my effort going to build this virtual campus. It is a platform that allows community growth, strengthening, and involvement. It is different from normal social media because I pay for it. That means it can't be taken away from me in the middle of the night like a Facebook page or TikTok could. And yes, that's not uncommon. Your account and all your work just disappears. But if I'm paying for it, then this won't happen. And I can invest in this community platform without worrying about terms of service surrounding animals. Now, I will keep doing free outreaches like this podcast, but you will see me investing more of my time and resources into the campus and the people there that have invested in me. The monthly seminars for the campus members are the first thing. Many of you have been very generous in supporting this outreach with no expectation of anything more. I've seen you on Patreon, and now I see you with this campus. I am grateful, and I want to make sure that is reciprocated. I appreciate each one of you that has purchased a class or are supporting the virtual campus. And I promise you, we are going to be doing good things. And with that, I think it's time to go out into the world and do our thing. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Bill Strand signing off. Take care of yourself and be excellent to each other.